To say that my name is Poonam Mehta, and welcome to Visionary Lens as an educational tool. The first part of this afternoon is going to be a couple of speakers, and we're going to talk a little bit about Visionary Lens. And I just wanted to start off the event with me and Hillary up here, just doing a land acknowledgement. So. Yeah. Okay. So the University of Manitoba is located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, the Innuit, the Dakota, Oyote, Dene, and Inuit, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. So we honored the treaties and the ongoing relationship with this land and acknowledge both the past and present harms. We're guided by respect and reciprocity. We commit to reconciliation through meaningful calls to action. We strive to nurture reciprocal relationships with the land and the waters by learning from them, caring for them, and honoring Indigenous stewardship. We recognize water as sacred and essential to all beings, supporting Indigenous leadership in water protection and governance. We also commit to advancing Indigenous health equity by addressing systemic barriers and centralizing Indigenous-led healing and wellness practices. In education, we work towards Indigenous excellence by embedding Indigenous knowledge, rights, and voices across our learning environments. We also acknowledge the ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual plus peoples. Committing ourselves to promoting safety, justice, and accountability in all areas of our work. These commitments guide how we move forward in partnership, in humility, and in continued collaboration with Indigenous communities. So we're going to have a smudge, and Hillary's going to lead us through it. Hillary is a student at the University of So, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Poonam Mehta, and I'm an instructor for most of you attending here today. And thank you all very sincerely for coming. It is a privilege to welcome you to the Visionary Lens and Education for me, and is now making its official University of Manitoba debut. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge myself and the journey that has brought me here. For more than a decade, I have taught many students here at the university. In every class, I draw on feminist photography, documentaries, and storytelling as tools to engage, challenge, and inspire. One thing that is evident today is that I have a deep love and admiration for everything you have created in this room. Over the years, I have taught courses on addictions, transformative teaching, gender and sexuality, feminist science fiction, maternal health, yoga, and most recently in the College of Community and Global Health, program planning and health promotion, families in contemporary Canadian society, displacement, conflict, and development. In the future, when I transition fully into a professor role, I hope to focus primarily on program planning and health promotion, as these are my dearest subjects. Many of you know me as a kind professor who loves to support and guide students. What many of you may not know is that the reason I am a good teacher is because my life began rooted in feminism and social justice. From a young age, I recognized injustice in my community, so I joined animal rights groups and Greenpeace just when I was 12 years old. And I began also speaking out against patriarchy. These early experiences in critical thinking led me to complete an undergraduate degree in women's studies at the University of Winnipeg, while simultaneously earning a degree in the sciences. I went on to complete my MSc and PhD, gaining extensive experience working in Métis and First Nations health across Manitoba for over a decade. So what you see today in this room, the learning, the creativity, the engagement, is a culmination of these years of education experience and teaching practice. And that brings me to the reason you are all here today. Today you are not simply viewing photographs. You are stepping into the lives, experiences, and imaginations of students who are learning to see the world through the lens of respect, dignity, and justice. Most importantly, we're engaging in transformative teaching. I founded Visionary Lens in 2021 as an educational tool to promote respect and dignity in health through feminist documentary photography and film. And yes, I will make everyone a feminist street photographer by the end of one of my classes. As a documentary photographer myself, I have always believed that images carry the power to illuminate, to connect, and to inspire change. Over the years, Visionary Lens has grown into a truly student-led project rooted in higher education pedagogy. Students explore their own lives, their own communities, and their understanding of health through visual storytelling using everyday tools, phone cameras, digital cameras, and notebooks to create powerful visual narratives. The simplicity of these tools does not limit the complexity of the stories that are on these walls today. The program is guided by visionary feminist thinking of Bell Hooks, who reminds us that the classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy. Visionary Lens is one such radical space. Here, students are not just learners, they are creators, observers, and ethical storytellers. Students are encouraged to ask, who am I taking a picture of? Why am I taking their picture? How will my work honor their story rather than exploit it? In this assignment, it's about ethics, care, and agency. It teaches us that every photograph is a relationship, every story requires listening, and every image carries a responsibility to reflect on the strength and dignity and humanity of its subject. The photographs featured here reveal intimate, powerful moments. One student captured the emotional weight and personal meaning of a status card, showing how a piece of plastic can hold generations of history, identity, and survival. Another student explored Métis belonging, honoring the strength, memory, and resilience carried through generations. Another partially deaf student offered a powerful reflection on sound and silence, showing how communication, identity, and community take shape in ways that are often overlooked. Another student explored reproductive justice and culturally competent care through the lens of toy models and a clinical visual reminder that representation, inclusion, and safety in healthcare matter. One student photographed movement in a dance studio, capturing discipline, self-expression, healing, and the joy of reclaiming space. Other students on the walls today explored migration, homelessness, violence against women, food insecurity, belonging, aging, Indigenous justice, and many, many more themes. Each story is distinct, yet reveals connections we share, community, care, health, dignity, and ongoing work of justice. This semester, students from several classes contributed their work. From each class, there will be 2 students presenting their photographs today. Visionary Lens is deeply connected to the Community and Global Health film series, which will also, one of the speakers will speak about today, which pairs photography with film to explore health, social justice, and marginalized voices. Students reflect on documentaries about disability, Indigenous justice, reproductive health, global inequalities, examining how visual media can challenge assumptions, provoke empathy, and inspire action. Together, photography and film reveal how stories shape and influence how communities are perceived. Students participating in this Visionary Lens events are also invited to enter their work into a contest for the chance to attend the Gimli International Film Festival in the summer of 2026, a remarkable opportunity to share their stories with a broader audience. Today, I ask each of you to select the top 3 photographs by writing down their number, the first, second, and third choice, and the 3 photographs with the most votes will earn their creators a place at the festival next summer. So the ballots are in the back of the room here. So at its core, Visionary Lens is not just about photography. It's about learning to see deeply, listen carefully, and tell stories with integrity. It's about understanding that representation carries responsibility and that the storyteller, especially the visual storytelling, can be a force for justice, empathy, and transformation. It empowers students to illuminate social realities in thoughtful, ethical, and community-centered ways. I invite you now to explore the photographs and stories in this showcase. Each image reflects the courage and creativity. Each story invites us to pause, see differently, but also really important at the heart of all of this is respect and dignity for human beings. And it's really, I just wanted to thank you for being here to witness this event, reflect on, celebrate the work of these remarkable students, and seeing their stories to become part of a project that is not about photography, but about justice and care and the transformative power of storytelling. Finally, as Bell Hooks writes, life-transforming ideas have always come to me through books, stories, and experiences of others. Today, through these images and stories, we are reminded that learning, empathy, and justice are practical, visible, and profoundly beautiful, and that visionary thinking can shape how we see and engage with the world. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first student, Hillary, who's going to speak about their photograph, which I'll put up in 1 second.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Hillary, and I come from Minigazebe Anishinaabe Pine Creek First Nation. Today, I am honored to share the story behind my Visionary Lens project, an assignment that was asked to not just take a photograph, but to use photography and storytelling to promote respect and dignity in community and global health. When I began this assignment, I learned quickly that a photograph is never just an image. It is a moment, a memory, a question, and sometimes a quiet act of truth-telling. My photo captures a status card. At first glance, you might notice that it's just a card, but what you might not notice right away is the deeper story that sits behind the frame. That colonization is still taking place in Canada. I chose this moment because it matters to me and it matters to other status Indigenous people. Whether it's colonization and those effects it has on Indigenous people or racial inequality. This story is part of who we are, where we come from, and what it is like being an Indigenous person. Working on this project made me reflect on my own experiences and the people who shaped them. And it reminded me that everyday encounters often carry the most powerful truths. As I continued, I found myself returning to some of the themes we explored in our course Care: justice, identity, dignity, survival, and belonging. My photograph speaks to the theme of continued colonization. This piece of plastic holds a lot of meaning to me. It means more to me than just a piece of ID. It is my cultural background and my family's background who they all mean so much to me. A treaty card is a type of government ID that is proof of a status Indian, and it means that you are registered by the government under the Indian Act of Canada. I am labeled as just a status Indian on my card. I am labeled as a number. In 2021, Census did a survey that there are approximately 1,127,010 status Indigenous people in Canada, which means many Indigenous people have to carry around this card with them that has proof of their ethnicity. And it labels Indigenous people because we belong to a First Nations background. It is a type of colonization still happening in Canada, having to carry around a piece of plastic that has proof of what ethnicity an individual belongs to, which you have to get approved first by the government if you have enough other status Indians in your family for the rights to be passed down to yourself. My past Indigenous family that passed away still are labeled as a status Indian and still labeled as a number when we fill out forms for our Indigenous status and blood quantum to work in America or other countries. We still have to put in that documentation that labels my past family as a status Indian. Using your status card can help you save taxes and certain healthcare expenses, such as medications, eye care, and dental care. I need my treaty card when I go to the doctor, dentist, pharmacy, and crossing the border. I need it when I'm filling out forms such as getting into university. I have to self-identify myself as a status Indian. I need to carry my treaty card where I go because if I don't have my card with me or my number memorized, it is ineffective for use. Individuals believe that having these rights is a privilege and Indigenous people should be grateful. The issue with having these rights comes from sovereignty and the colonization of the Indian Act, the controlled rights that Indigenous people have against them. Having the access to these benefits does help, but it only helps Indigenous people up to a certain extent. We still have to pay taxes like every other Canadian. We still have to pay for certain medications. Not everything is covered. Half of these benefits need to be approved first by the government. Half of the time you are denied. When I go out and ask if I can use my status card in the store or for health services, I get a look of almost disgust, like I'm being a peasant. Half of the time I don't bother asking to use it in stores because of the stigma of using it, almost like I should feel embarrassed to use this card. I sometimes get racial remarks made to me by individuals who lack basic understanding when I do declare myself as an Indigenous person. It is heart-wrenching for myself when I get racial remarks made to me just because of my ethnicity, which I openly tell people because I am not ashamed where I come from. Why do Indigenous people need to feel ashamed of their identity and in 2025 need to carry around a type of card of what band and status and number Indian they are? When we are on the road to reconciliation in Canada, but other Indigenous people and myself still belong to the government. When I thought we are moving forward in society with reconciliation, so Indigenous people aren't discriminated anymore in society or through the Indian Act. This card reminds me of the dark history between Indigenous people and Canada, between the Indian Act and how our rights are still being controlled by the government. To another non-Indigenous individual, this might just be a piece of ID. They might not think much of it, and that is powerful because society probably doesn't see it as an issue, having to carry around a card, a status card of your ethnicity. This card holds a lot of meaning to me because it is my identity and being Indigenous runs in my blood. This piece of plastic reminds me of colonization, racial discrimination, and how it is still going on today and for future Indigenous generations. Thank you, Dr. Mitta, for giving me the opportunity to express my thoughts and my emotions in this artwork. Miigwech.
Hi everyone, my name is Jill Livingston. I'm in my final year of my Bachelor's of Health Studies here at the university, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak to you today about my Visionary Lens project and how it is through this project that I'm able to share my story with you here today. In order to understand my project, I feel that you need to know a couple things about me, about the things that shaped my life. First, of course, is my love of dance. My mom brought me to my first dance class in the fall of 2005. In the cafeteria of an elementary school. There was no studio for us to dance in back then. Just slippery floors, no mirrors, and a CD player in the corner. I was 2.5 years old, and although I don't remember it, I've been dancing ever since, and I've never looked back, so it's safe to say I was hooked. The second is my sense of community. I grew up and still live in a rural area about an hour southwest of Winnipeg. I was taught from a very young age the importance of community, of volunteering, and of giving back. I spent a lot of time as a kid hanging out at the rink while my parents coached or worked in the canteen, or playing with my friends at the community hall during pancake breakfasts, fish fries, and fall suppers, after my shift of clearing dishes off the table, of course. These voluntold jobs didn't feel like work to me. That is just what we did. My parents always told us that if you want something done, sometimes you have to do it yourself. This might sound harsh to some of you, but really what they meant is that everyone has to do their part in helping the community thrive. When our community can thrive, we can all thrive. It is in this sense of community that I believe guides so much of my academic and personal journey. In many ways, the journey that brought me here today started when I was 18. I was in my first year of university, online, and I found out the studio that I had been dancing and teaching at would be closing. There would be no more dance in Carmen. I knew what that meant. A few parents might be able to make the weekly drive to Winnipeg, but most of the kids just simply wouldn't be able to dance anymore. Something in me just couldn't let it happen. I didn't know if I was ready, but sparing you a lot of details and bumps along the way that I'll save for another day, I opened the doors to my very own dance studio in the fall of 2021. And it is somehow today that I'm entering my 5th year of university and also my 5th year as a studio owner. I deeply believe that dance is more than just a physical activity. It is an art, it is an expression, it's self-discipline, it's education, it's food for the soul. As pioneer dance educator Margaret Newell so aptly wrote, "As every child has the right to a box of crayons and a certain instruction in the fundamental principles of drawing, whether there is any chance she ever become a great artist or not, so it is that every child has the right to know how to obtain control of her body so she may use it to the limit of her abilities for the expressions of her reactions to life. Teaching dance is my way of giving whatever knowledge I have gained back to my community. This is my duty, this is my duty to the community that has given so much to me, and I'm proud to be able to do it." When Dr. Mehta asked us to use our Visionary Lens project to plan a program to address a community health issue, I knew right away what I wanted to do. For me, this project was not just academic, but a very real way to look into myself and what I do and what I want my students to be able to gain, and tell that story. My program, Dancing Through Life, is about using dance to promote physical health, a lifelong love of movement, mental and emotional wellness. By providing female and peer mentorship, my dancers can develop positive and strong social bonds, a sense of teamwork and community. My photo depicts a pre-performance ritual that one of my competition teams developed last season. Before they went backstage at every competition, every showcase, and every recital, they would get in a circle, they would put their arms around each other and put their heads together. I don't know exactly what they were saying. The circle was just for them. But they went on stage, something just clicked. It was this magical moment. They danced as one. It was honestly inspiring. They would come off the stage and they were so proud of themselves and so proud of each other. One of the dancers in this picture recently told me, "I love my dance friends. My school friends fight sometimes, but my dance friends are different. We are always there for each other. When I come to dance, no matter what's happening in my life, I know I have a place here." It was then I realized how special this dance community I created was. How dance had helped me through so much, helped me express myself, helped me recover my body and mind from trauma, helped teach me discipline, responsibility, teamwork, passion, and the love of art and movement that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. This was now able to empower my students to do the same thing. Through my Visionary Lens, I hope that I can share a glimpse of this with you. It has been just over 20 years since my first dance class, and in that time, so many things in my life has changed. But dance has always been there with me. Dance has always been there to grow. I am so incredibly grateful to my community and to my students for everything that they have given to me. For everything I have taught them, they have taught me twice as much. I would like to thank Dr. Mehta and everyone else here today for allowing me to share my Visionary Lens with you. I hope that through both Visionary Lens and my story, you can see that learning takes many forms and that learning is lifelong. I hope I can inspire you, even just a little bit, to continue dancing through life. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming here today. My name is Holly Topliski, and I'm a student in the Interdisciplinary Health Program and a part of our Student Association. I'm very excited to share my experiences with Visionary Lens, an educational tool, a project that brings feminist documentary photography and storytelling through film into community and global health education. And this is all here in the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences, which I am also a part of. Personally, I got the opportunity to attend the Gimli International Film Festival for the past 2 summers, and I found it incredibly enlightening and impactful. The festival was an opportunity to see multiple films and learn more about different communities on a local, national, and global level. This initiative is more than just a class assignment or a film series. It's a movement. It's about transforming how we teach, how we learn, and how we understand health. The core of our work is simple, but it's a powerful idea. Health is not only measured, it is lived, remembered, witnessed, and narrated. Health cannot be reduced to numbers alone. It is felt in the struggles and triumphs of real people. It is seen in communities resisting inequity. and it's heard in the stories that are often left out of traditional curricula. Today I want to take you inside the Community and Global Health Film series to show you how storytelling, photography, and a feminist lens can bring justice and dignity to health education. Here are some findings from the focus group conducted last semester about our learning. You might ask, why feminist documentary photography? Why storytelling? Because they remind us to slow down, to witness, to listen. What makes us practice feminist is not only the subjects it centers, but the ethics and care in how the stories are told. It centers agency, not extraction. It promotes collaboration, not objectification. It values consent and care, and it holds power accountable and challenges traditional hierarchies. These methods help students engage with the human side of health. Stories make visible the inequities and resilience that statistics alone cannot capture. Through photography and storytelling, students encounter lived experiences directly. The struggles of disability justice, the resilience of Indigenous communities, the legacies of residential schools, and the everyday realities of reproductive health. In short, storytelling doesn't just convey information, it shifts perspective. I now want to discuss what students, including myself, shared about what we learned and experienced. When we collected preliminary data through questionnaires, reflections, and a focus group, a powerful theme emerged. Students were transformed by storytelling. They described their experiences as eye-opening, humanizing, discomforting but necessary, and transformative. Some examples were watching Crip Camp, which allowed students to understand disability rights as activism and systemic struggle, not just accessibility. One said, "I never realized how health is tied to rights until I saw this film. It made numbers human." Films on residential schools gave students a deeper understanding of colonial legacies and the responsibilities they carry as future healthcare professionals. When students reflected, "It's different than just reading a textbook. I felt what I was learning." Stories on reproductive justice, migration, climate change, and planetary health push students to see health as social, political, and global. Through these experiences, students felt the emotional weight of health inequities, not just the theory. They realized that being a health professional is about empathy as much as expertise. One thing became very clear. There is a tension between traditional science-focused public health education and creative, justice-oriented pedagogy. Many students noted, in public health, we focus on data, but these stories made me see why numbers matter. But students reminded us, evidence is more than just numbers. Knowledge is more than just a measurement, and health is more than just disease. Through this lens, the visionary lens, that is, as an educational tool initiative, it expands what counts as knowledge, and whose knowledge really counts. Another strong theme emerged. Students want participation, not just passive viewing. They want reflection guides and discussion circles. They want live chats or anonymous responses during screenings. And they want opportunities to talk to guest speakers, including community members and filmmakers. And they want co-facilitation roles. They want to move from watching to co-creating knowledge, from receiving information to actively shaping learning, and from viewing stories to telling them. This is the heart of feminist pedagogy: relationship, collaboration, and shared power. Students also expressed a desire for global perspectives. Films about migration, planetary health, reproductive justice, bioethics, and Indigenous resilience worldwide. Hearing voices like Megan Sinclair, Jane Goodall, and other activists that bridge science, storytelling, and social justice. Their message is clear: health is global. Storytelling is global. So our lens must be global. They see public health education as not confined by borders, disciplines, or perspectives, and neither should we. Preliminary findings confirm what we already know. Stories change how we see health. Photography makes visible what is often invisible. Feminist documentary practice challenges systems of power, names inequity, and centers dignity. This initiative is more about than just learning. It's about transformation. Transformation in students, in communities, and in the field of public health. As Visionary Lens, we commit to centering marginalized voices, training students in ethical, feminist storytelling, creating participatory learning spaces, integrating global and intersectional perspectives, connecting classrooms with communities, challenging dominant narratives in health, and using photography and storytelling as tools for reflection, transformation, and shared responsibility. Our students have shown us the way forward. Now it's our turn to walk the path with them, beside them, and in collaboration with the communities whose stories shape our understanding of health. With that being said, thank you for being here today. Thank you for believing in the power of story. Thank you for helping us build more just, compassionate, and transformative future for community and global health, one photograph, one story, and one visionary lens at a time. By centering marginalized voices and inviting critical reflection, the series disrupted conventional boundaries between academic knowledge and lived experience. As students themselves proposed, future iterations should be built on this foundation through increased interactivity, global perspectives, and sustained engagement with community leaders and storytellers. This project is more than just a teaching innovation. It is a call to reimagine what health education can look like when we trust students as collaborators, embrace creativity, and honor the power of story. Thank you.